everyone. Welcome to SportsKhabri. We're at the end of 2024, and I think it's only fitting to go through some of the best cricketing moments that we've seen throughout the year. There have been so many. And when I say best, I don't mean it to be like a highlight. Like, it doesn't have to be a positive highlight per se, but it can also be something that, I don't know, you guys thought was extremely memorable, extremely close to you. And yeah, I think there have been so many moments, and I'm sure we'll run through them, and you guys will help, and we'll get past a lot of them. But yeah, I don't think there's any way we can put any moment on top. So let's. I think the best idea is to keep it free. We'll go through some of those moments that you guys liked a lot. But yeah, just to start things off from an RCB fan's perspective, this IPL was an absolute roller coaster. Like, from a 0.1% chance or a 1% chance, something like that, to qualify in the way that RCB did. I know it's IPL cricket. It probably doesn't mean as much as international cricket, India doing well, but I think if you ask anyone from Bangalore, it means a lot. I think that journey that RCB took this year in the IPL was very special. Of course, it didn't happen after we qualified, but it was special. And also, with the women's team winning the WPL before that, I think that entire phase was special for RCB fans. So yeah, just to kick us off with some nice franchise cricket, I just threw it out there. We'll move it around. Rishi, if you had to name one moment that was very, very close to you and extremely memorable for you, what was that one moment, bro, this year?
Bro, I think not exactly moment. I think a small period of I think 2 overs where in the World Cup T20 World Cup final where it was pretty much looking down and out for us. It looked like another Ahmedabad Australia scene was happening where we were this close. We
Yeah.
were near perfect in almost every game. We demolished every opposition, and then suddenly we were being steamrolled. And then when all seemed lost, who else but our the one, the only Jasprit Bumrah comes in. I
Yeah.
think two runs and a wicket in that over, and then that was beautifully complemented by Hardik Pandya. Like I feel Hardik Pandya's contribution also goes under the radar. Like fair enough, like Bumrah's overs, Bumrah's that over really brought us back into the game, but it was still like we were at from like almost the jaws of defeat. It was brought back to anybody's game, and we still could have lost the game from there. And Hardik Pandya really came through, and he picked up I think David Miller's wicket in the first ball of the over. It was a brilliant running catch from Surya Kumar Yadav, and the emotional roller coaster that we were on, like all the way from agony to ecstasy and again agony to the sudden. I think I think we felt all sorts of emotions in that period of like 15-20 minutes. So I feel I don't think for me anything tops that. Probably what over the last couple of weeks what I'm feeling through the BGT, because even though
Mm.
in games which have been ending up in draws, there are so many small incidents happening. Like Josh Hazelwood pulled up in the third test, even though it was a draw. So that is a significant thing. We won the first test, we lost the second test, we were close enough, and even in the third test we were close. So, but then since it's being stretched out for nearly 1.5 months, I feel that gets a little bit diluted. But the sheer impact that 15-20 minutes had, I feel for me it has to go to that T20 World Cup final.
Yeah, I think the T20 World Cup was special for a lot of people. I think this was one of those World Cup wins that to me also it meant a lot. At least like for me, because I have been such a big Rahul Dravid fan, like in the past, it meant that much more to see him finally lift a World Cup trophy, because it had never come. And I think, especially in the West Indies, where it was his 2007 team that struggled and that were humiliated in the group stages, for him to come back to the same place and win a World Cup was very special for me. Again, another moment that I thought was very emotional. Again, from personal perspective. Go to Adi. Adi, what any favorites for you this year? Like, again, Rishi's already touched upon the T20 World Cup, but what are the moments?
I mean, yeah, for me, not nothing really particularly, exciting moment this year. I think for me, I really, personally just supporting RCB this season. I enjoyed the season a lot. I
Mm.
think as an RCB fan, overall, this had been one of the most, uh, you know, insane season in terms of where they started, how the season went from, game one to game eight. We had only two wins
Yeah.
and many losses, considered the highest. runs ever in SRH. But I always felt a lot of belief in that team. Every time I watched them play, I always felt like, okay, even against KKR, I remember when they lost, I always felt like this team has that fighting spirit. This team always has something in them that they want to produce. And that's one thing I always believed, even with the bowlers, players like Yash Dayal coming, stepping up. Even during our games when we were losing, they were always showing face. They were not running away. They were not hiding behind anything. When the bowling was poor, they accepted and they said, "We're bowling bad, and it's time for us to step up." Second half of the season, they were brilliant. I think Siraj had a very good second half of the season. Even Yash Dayal, everyone showed up. I feel like that season of everyone coming together in the second half of the season, it was literally 1%, as you said, the probability, but turning that 1% into 100% was like every game they went out, they won. They won in special ways. For example, Virat 100 in against SRH, if I'm not wrong, and Will Jacks scoring a century against Gujarat. It was every game the team found new ways to win. They won in different situations. It was not always like scoring high runs and or chasing high runs. It was also sometimes they scored a bit less. Like against SRH, in that stadium, they had scored pretty less runs. I remember it was something like 180, 190, if I'm not wrong. In a track where Mumbai Indians etc. got smacked for more than 250 runs, and they defended that small scoreline in that sense. Like I remember that they got all out for like 160, 150. I don't remember the exact scores, but I remember that game where we brought it out of it. Because when I remember we batted first, we scored less runs. I thought we would lose that game. I just accepted loss because of the fact that the way the season was going, etc. But they showed, they can win in different ways. And again, it was a very special season, bro. Like generally, RCB had big players. This time, they never had big players. They were ready to drop big players like Maxwell out for young players like what do you call him, Will Jacks coming in first season. He's never played IPL before. He missed a couple of seasons, and the way he played overall, he still showed himself. Like a couple of games, he had a good couple of games, good 2-3 games. And same way, like even other players, like underrated players like Khan Sharma to an extent. Uh, Even Faf at that age playing, the way he played last season, scoring runs, quick fire. Like I think everyone, bro, everyone played so well. And for me, I think in cricket, at least overall, I think that's something I really enjoyed.
No, yeah, I think that whole spell for us, we at least for me also, like the women's tournament, I think was very special, especially again, like you're talking about like these close games. RCB women's team in the semi-final against Mumbai were out. It was 18 of 18 or something like that, something insane. And Harmanpreet goes, and then the game flips on its head. So again, like I think that entire phase was very exciting if you're an RCB fan. um from that, I think I just want to take you guys back to the year beginning, where there was a certain Shamar Joseph who produced something insane in Australia to win in Brisbane, and it was, people forget how close this game was. West Indies won by 8 runs, and it was him from around the wicket. I think he got Josh Hazelwood in the end. He got him bowled, but like I feel like this game, this performance is just forgotten because it happened so long back. You might even think that it happened in 2023. Yeah, but no, that wasn't the case, and it was a Shamar Joseph classic. Rishi, like you remember like what are your memories of this one, dude? Like, because it was a special game for them and a special game for him.
Bro, I mean, like this was a time when Australia were also experimenting of sorts, right? They had Steve Smith opening the batting, if I'm not wrong. At the same time, like West Indies were going through a little bit of their own like transitions. They were having a lot of new players coming in. They had big knocks from players, like new players like your Josh De Silva's, like your Kevin Sinclair's. I think Josh De Silva hit somewhere 70, 80 runs in the first innings, and then set up a good platform uh, for them. And like right from the first innings, I think Australia struggled. I don't remember anyone doing particularly well in the first innings. I think either Khwaja or Labuschagne scored somewhere in the 70s, 60s, and then a little bit from the tails, but that's about it. I think Cummins hit a little bit, and then it was back to like they. I don't. I like. I felt this was a game where even though they were at home, they were in Gabba. They never seemed to be in complete control of it. Considering This was a relatively newish West Indies side. Like they were never in complete control, and although they did come close in the second innings, like Steve Smith leading the charge, almost scoring 100 in the second innings, it was ultimately not enough. Like, bro, Shamar Joseph was playing with a broken toe, if I'm not wrong. Like,
Yeah,
he
he was playing with
was
broken toe.
asked to step out. He was asked to get some treatment, but he just carried on. He because at that point, like, it was him. Like everything good was happening through him. Like others were just pretty much support staff. Like Alzari Joseph had, I think, bowled more than him, but again was not creating the same impact. Even though they had someone of like the experience of Kemar Roach, it was everything was going through Shamar Joseph. So there was no way he would step out. And bro, like the way he was sending in missiles, every ball I remember looked like a wicket ball. Like every
He
single
picked up
ball, he's
7 wickets just for like
ex-
context.
ex- yeah. What the hell? Seven
And he was
wickets.
and he was never he never bowled with the new ball in this entire game. He was first second change in the second innings, and he was first change in the first innings. So
Like
incredible. Like
what?
the
What even like? Again, it's
yeah,
it's only fitting that like he was able to reap the benefits of his own hard work. Like
yeah,
when
yeah.
you play with when you're putting your body through so much, I think it's only fair that like I think it was rightfully, I think one of the commentators called that this will be called as a Shamar Joseph test, and it's only fair that it gets that
It
kind
is,
of
yeah, 100%. There's one series that sort of goes under the radar because we are India fans, but it was New Zealand winning 3-0 in India. Like it's a significant moment of the year. Simon Dool has called it the best ever performance by a New Zealand Test team. Like ever. Like he said outright, put everything aside, this was the best performance from a New Zealand side.
To be
Um,
fair, but can you guys think of a better series that an away team has had in India in our lifetimes? At least I
no
cannot
chance.
think of one.
Because there hasn't been, we haven't lost at home since 2012. And even then, when we played England, it's not like we were terrible. Um, like, I still think we competed. But this time, we didn't compete except for the first test. I don't think we competed, bro, in this series. Like, it never looked like India were. I don't think we were ever ahead of a game at any stage. And that kind of scares me and that worries me, except for I think there was one game where you were chasing 150 odd or something, and then we faltered. But apart from that, I think, yeah, but it's a significant moment. I think, like India losing to New Zealand 3-0, of course, not from an Indian perspective, but just the cricketing perspective for a team like that to come to a team like India who are poised to challenge for the WTC finals spots and to smash them like in their own backyard is I think very very special. Imagine if India went to Australia and won 3-0, we would not stop talking about it. Or if India went to England and won 3-0, nobody would stop talking about it. Um, but I think because of the fact that it is New Zealand, it has gone under the radar slightly. So I think just to be fair to that, I think we have to discuss it. Rather, a couple more retirements. I think some of them are a couple of them, both of them actually very emotional ones. Ravi Ashwin from India, Tim Southee, New Zealand. It's uh, again two big names leaving the sport. So what do you make of those retirements?
I mean, yeah, bro. Like, I think as age comes, you know, it, just the nature of the sport, right? I think cricket, especially right now, is in a heavy transition phase. Look at Australia. They've lost David Warner this year, uh, and they've been struggling since then to get a new opener. Even for example, with New Zealand, they lost Bolt, they lost Saudi. Like I feel like every country have lost their own players. Jimmy Anderson from England, from India, it's Ashwin, and you'll find more players. T20, Virat, Rohit have gone now, and like that, you'll find more players leaving the sport at least in the near future. And it's not only going to be, it's going to be a notable change because the cricketers we're facing right now, most of them, the majority good ones, are at the same age group, and they all grew up and came, at the same time, I would say. So it is something like, for me at least, it's exciting because even though these players have been playing since my childhood, in terms of like maybe 11, 12, I've seen these guys play since then. But overall, I feel like there is a huge transition phase, and the huge transition phase right now in cricket is exciting because you're getting new talents, which is
Mm.
something refreshing to see. I really felt like over the past 2 3 years, me personally, I felt like cricket, apart from India, no other team has been able to dominate it or play it to a good level. Uh, and hopefully like something new comes out of this and blossoms, because you still look at New Zealand, they have young talent like Sachin Ravindra coming up, and you
Mm.
go to England, they have their own players like Bethel coming up. Even with Australia, we just saw recently Constas. Just those few from what we can see in the future, and I really think it's needed in cricket, in my honest opinion. Even with England, like if they really wanted, they could have stayed with Jimmy Anderson. I really think it was a very good decision to move from him, just for the fact that you need, they have an Ashes coming in 12 months. If you're still having Jimmy Anderson at 43, 42 playing, it is not that exciting, just for the fact that you know what you're getting out of him. Everyone's going to say he's a legend of the sport. He would have surpassed Vaughan, maybe. But just for example, I guess he had like 19 wickets in the last 17 innings he had bowled in Test cricket. And it's just so crazy how like people made it a big deal saying, okay, how can we lose these players? I get it. Like it is heartbreaking. It is kind of weird to look at, England without Jimmy Anderson in a test match, or Saudi for the matter of fact for New Zealand. But my thing is, I want to see exciting new talent. Same thing with England. They found a lot of exciting talent coming through, and that's going to happen for every other team. And I really would like to discover new talent in cricket. And I think that's something which is a bittersweet moment this year, because you do lose some players you've seen from a very young age. Like for me, Saudi, I really liked him for some reason. I just don't know. I just liked him as a bowler. I don't even know why. But just the way he bowled, right? He's just such a nice guy to watch for some
Yeah,
reason.
he's a nice guy.
And him going, I don't know, it's just kind of sad, because I always felt like New Zealand team, I've always had like a lot of favorite players from them, right from Ross Taylor, Martin Guptill, like this team, bro, that entire team, they grew up together for me, because I only used to watch them whenever like New Zealand, it's always Saudi, Bolt, Vettori at that time, it's those guys. So it's
Yeah.
kind of sad, but I'm also excited to see, new talent. And I think New Zealand also found their own young bowlers coming up, right? Like Will Rook and stuff like that. So it's exciting to see, what they have to offer.
Yeah, Pakistan never failed to surprise Rishi. 2-0 loss to Bangladesh earlier this year. It's always nice to sort of remind the cricketing world of that. And some shock losses in the T20 World Cup, particularly to a country called the United States of America that barely played cricket. It's such a weird one, dude. Like it's one of those like, and suddenly you see them turn up and play so well again in South Africa. So it's that they're such a weird team. So like, but
Didn't
again, I
they
think
beat they beat England in the Test series as well in Pakistan?
yeah, they did
Like
beat England and they played pretty well. I thought like
yeah,
towards the
like
end of that series.
dude, they I think they out baseball in Pakistan. Like I feel that pretty much sums up like Pakistan. Like if you're a neutral, you can't ask for a more entertaining team, because you ask the Pakistan players what you're gonna get from the test match. I feel they also won't them and the coaching staff won't have a single clue as to what they're gonna get. Either they're gonna get the prime Pakistan, or you're gonna get absolute comedy from them. Like you are either ways you're in for some quality entertainment. Like I felt when it came to the World Cup, I felt they weren't at any point in match with US, because the US were just in the
Yeah.
energy levels in terms of the efforts. I felt US were always just one notch above. And then you fast track from there to the test series in England. But this was, I think, around the time where England was still in conversation to be part of the WTC. Like, they were in conversation to be in the WTC final. And then they go and get hammered over there. And then we're talking about captaincy change. We're talking about the new regime. And then what happens there? Coach retires. And then Jason Gillespie, who was supposed to be only either the white ball or the red ball coach, becomes the full, like the coach of the overall all three formats. And then suddenly he goes from the team coach to only handling the match day operations, and not the overall coaching. And then Pakistan cricket put out a statement saying that there were rumors saying that he was going to resign, and then they quickly refuted it, only for him to step down a couple of days later. And then they go to South Africa. They almost defeat South Africa, and then manage to lose by 2 wickets. Like they had them by their necks. And then Rabada and who was it? Who was it? Rabada, I forgot.
Yeah, I'll get that for you. But
Jansen,
yeah,
Jansen.
Yeah, Rabada and Jansen managed to see the game through. So, bro, like it's like I think it's one of those memes where you just put your hands up and say absolute cinema. Like I don't know
Ah,
what more
bro,
to
it's
say
so
about
harsh
this
to
match.
talk about today's game. I feel like they played so well. I don't think
Bro, like
you
I felt
can.
Mohammad Abbas bowled. He is a really underrated
Yeah,
and a
and
really
you know,
good
Mohammad
bowler.
Abbas is such a weird one because we had seen him. It's not the first time he's playing, of course, for Pakistan. We've seen him in the past, a genuine swing bowler who just never and was very consistent even then. I don't know why he was suddenly not in the picture. Now he's back in the picture and he's bowling well. And yeah, it's a weird team. It's a
I
weird
mean,
team, and they
like
make a lot
to
of
be fair,
weird decisions.
they did play well. Like for most parts, they did play well today,
They
and
play well.
I
They
feel
play pretty well. Yeah.
yeah, and it's just the whole circus called Pakistan Cricket Board that generates the entertainment, and their players also offer a little bit here and there. I don't think you can deny
Yeah,
because
that's true, bro. I think
who was it picking up fights? I think yesterday on day 4, they were
the
someone
media.
was picking. Was it Saeem Ayub or Shan Masood? One of them were picking up fights with the South African players.
Damn, I didn't see this, but I did see
Or
Gulam
Kamran
pick
Gulam.
up fight. Yeah,
Yes,
Kamran Gulam picked
Kamran
a fight
Gaulam.
with Verena,
Kamran
but
Gulam. Yeah, it's
yeah,
Kamran Gulam. My bad.
it was not really a fight, but like, I mean, he looks like he's always in it. He always has something to say, Kamran Gulam, so it's nice. Um, but yeah, other than that, just to finally sum it up, a big change in Indian cricket. You saw Rahul Dravid leave after the T20 World Cup. I think perfect way for him to leave. I think a little unlucky, like he didn't get a trophy before that because 2023 World Cup final and even the WTC final. So good way for him to leave. But then Gautam Gambhir comes in, the man who has spoken so much and who always has an opinion about what is happening. Unfortunately, it hasn't happened at all for him. India lost a white ball series to Sri Lanka. India have got smashed by New Zealand. India are 1-all in Australia at the moment. For somebody who talks so much, what are we saying? It's a big moment that Gautam Gambhir has come in and to replace somebody like Rahul Dravid who probably doesn't talk as much as him, who doesn't have opinions on every small thing. But yeah, Adi, what have you made of Gambhir so far? Last to wrap it up.
I mean, again, too early to talk about what we can expect maybe in the future. But again, coming into this season, I mean, this era of cricket, it was all like suddenly it was a transition period for India. All of a sudden, people were like, we need to get in youngsters. We have aging players. We need to get and integrate youngsters into the team, and get more out of them, trust them, etc., etc., etc. And I always thought when Gambhir came in, he always expressed like, okay, we're going to play in a certain style of cricket. We're going to play with a certain brand of, uh, you know, uh, ideology, and also in terms of having certain players. We're going to get these players to supply us in the kind of brand of cricket we want to play. But I really don't think I've seen anything. I think in T20, I really can't say much because I do feel like India is the best team in T20 in the world right now, just for the fact that because of IPL we have the best T20 league in the world. All our youngsters get like a 10 times head start in T20 than any other youngster in the world, purely playing T20s, against the best cricketers in the world, you get the head start. So when it comes to T20, I really don't know in terms of what I can judge on him. I think India itself are a very good team, but outside that, in ODI, 2-0, 2-0 loss to Sri Lanka, where Sri Lanka itself don't know what they are in their cricketing agenda for them, and go in there with a strong team. They had their main team apart from Bumrah. It was nothing. It was not a matter of you playing a second fiddle team. He came and he said he wants Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma all into the team without, after the T20 World Cup, because he wants to start off his career as a coach, and 2-0 loss. And that time there was no real game plan. You had youngsters. And then you go to New Zealand, suddenly it's a new team. We all know what happened in New Zealand. And there was really no brand of cricket that time also. Uh, it was a matter of just batters batting cluelessly. I feel like it's the same right now also. 3 months down the lane after getting kind of embarrassed by New Zealand. As you said, the third test match, I think it was 150, 160 odd to win. And you had 2 3 days to chase that. It was not that India were in a time scale, deadline where they had only 30 40 overs like the Bangladesh game where they had to chase. But even that game, they gave us the wickets, etc. And overall, bro, I don't know. Like, I've never seen anything new from Gambhir. I feel like he just came in with his IPL credentials and wanted to rip apart whatever Dravid had grown to some extent. and it looks like India just took the opposite direction. I said before also, like, I don't think India's in transition period. They are the best team in the world. They were in the World Cup finals last year. They were in the World Test Championship final last year. They won the World Cup this year, T20 World Cup this year. So I don't really think India are in a transition phase. They still have all the best players right now playing for them. Again, I that's the thing. Like, the notion of Gumby is coming to help us in a transition phase. He himself making it like he has to fix Indian cricket for some reason just makes it sound like he's coming for a safe job here, and which is actually the opposite. I think Indian cricket has gone a bit down since what it was before, and yeah, really excited to see what happens in the future. 2 more months, we have another tournament coming up, right?
Yep, yep. It's the Champions Trophy coming up for Gambhir. Very important in this, and a very, very, very important tour to England in after the IPL next year. So he's definitely got his work cut out. But yeah, that's basically some of the sort of biggest moments in cricket this year. We've hopefully gone through most of them. If we haven't, please let us know in the comments if we've left out any. And if you've got a favorite, please share that too. Like always, please like and share the video. Subscribe to SportsKhabri. See you soon. Everyone, have a great new year.